Every culture has their work rhythm. Some are start early, go home early preference. The mainstream is probably more 9 to 5 approach, and Japan has its late evening finish. There are big variations according to the climate. Slugging it out through the heat of summer in my native Brisbane is debilitating because the heat just drains you of all your energy. Winter in Tokyo achieves the same feat as you struggle to survive the cold winter months. Lifestyles of the modern Japanese are usually sleep deprived, pitched together with horrendously long commutes in packed train carriages ensures you are physically exhausted by the time you get to work. The global matrix reporting lines add more complexity such that meetings are at odd hours of the night because of the time zones at play. Are we as companies recognising these issues? Are we focused on hours of work or on productivity per hour? Are we outthinking the competition because our brain trust is well rested and raring to go? Welcome back to this weekly edition every Tuesday of the Cutting Edge Japan Business Show. I'm your host, Dr. Greg Story, President of Dale Carnegie Training Japan and best-selling author of Japan Sales Mastery. We are bringing the show to you from our High Performance Center in Akasaka in Minato-ku, the business center of Tokyo. Why the cutting edge? In this show, we are looking at the critical areas for success in business in Japan. We want to help everyone advance their thinking so that we can be at the forefront, the cutting edge of how to flourish here in this market. Before we get into this week's topic, here is what caught my attention lately. The number of foreign visitors to Japan topped 30 million in mid-December, marking a record high in 1 year. The expectations will finish even higher, maybe 1 million higher by year's end. Back in 2013, the visitor number was only 10 million, and in 2016 it climbed to 20 million. The target is 40 million in 2020 when Japan hosts the Summer Olympics and Paralympic Games. In other news, Japan last year received 31,961 applications for design registrations. Compare this to 628,658 from China and 67,374 in Korea. Back in the 1980s, Japan had nearly 60,000 applications a year. The government is urging corporate executives to pursue design-driven management, whereby a company leverages design as a primary driver of competitiveness. This is episode number 63, and we're talking about Japan's work rhythm is different. それでは行きましょう. So let's get going. There are specific work rhythms for Japan. Spring is hopeless because of all the different types of kafunsho, allergies, killing our concentration. May is no good because of the gogatusbyo or miasma. Everyone is adjusting to the start of the new financial year in April, and many are struggling with their new assignments and environments and situations. How can you get any work done in that situation, I ask you? Well, what about after the Golden Week holidays, also in May? People come back exhausted from the crowded train, plane, and road travel, and from all the family activities which took place during that time. Summer in July and August are also bad because the heat makes us feel supremely drowsy, natsubate. You know, of course, we also have tsuyubyo, which is the summer sickness thanks to the endless rain, high humidity and associated joint pain. The August Obon season is no better because you have to travel back to your hometown to worship at the ancestor's grave, and the roads are clogged and the railways packed. Recently, we've added a couple of new ones. There's the akibate of autumn drowsiness. This is a new one. Plus, we get to reprise our allergy season again in autumn, thanks to the grasses flowering at that time, which trigger our allergies. From November on, we face those long, dark days of winter, which are seriously depressing, and bitter cold, which seeps into your bones. This is very tiring every day. We have to be careful not to break something if we fall down on those black ice pathways. There are also the rhythms of the day. We need to stay up really late watching mindless television or fixated on our tablet or handheld device's screen. Oh, look at that cat, what it's doing there. This is sort of escapism, I know, but we're getting insufficient sleep, and then we drag ourselves out of bed at the last possible moment, rush around in a panic to make the last possible train to get to work on time. In Japan, 92% of people start work after 8 a.m., so peak hour trains are incredibly packed, hence the torturous and exhausting commute. Trust me, standing up in a moving sardine can of a train carriage for a long period of time is exhausting. We should also stay really late at work, either waiting for the boss to leave or go out drinking with our work colleagues. In the latter case, stagger home, drunk, and then add to the excitement of reenacting yesterday's commute from hell, but now with a hangover. The afternoon is hard slog because we're so sleepy after lunch. Japanese do work long hours, and basically 16% of workers here never take a day off at all. Of those working more than 60-hour weeks, 27% never take any days off. I see it in my own team. They can only accumulate their holidays for a maximum of 2 years, and invariably they don't use them and lose the opportunity to take a break. As the boss, I have to monitor the leave taken, not because they take more than they should, but because they don't take enough. Tired people are expensive because of the huge opportunity costs involved. It is hard to be an idea genius when you're tired every single day of your work life. Innovation rarely surfaces amongst the exhausted, yet we expect results, innovation, creativity, high work productivity, and a happy staff. You need to be well rested and in good condition to operate at a high level. Look at high-performance athletes. They are extremely careful about their rest, recuperation ratios to their daily workout regimens. Do we want everyone at work also operating at peak performance levels if possible? Of course we do. How many foreign bosses adjust their high-powered expectations and allow for the different rhythms here though? Probably zero. In a globally connected 24/7 world, there is no modern tolerance for differences in rhythms. Matrix organizations stretching across vast time zones can't even schedule meeting times with any rational thought for those joining in from distant climes. If they are that insensitive to local conditions, how can they possibly gauge the local working situation described earlier around the different seasons in Japan? So, like our predecessors over the last 200 years, we try and hustle east. We must look at that because we pretty much meet with the same degree of success as well, which is basically none. Rather than hustle east, why don't we just make some simple alterations to our work style, introduce a few different work items, make for a different culture? Do you have strict policies on working overtime? In many companies, it is just worked, whether it is actually needed or not, because that is how you improve your monthly take-home pay situation. Pre-approval systems for working overtime control long hours pretty effectively. We have that in my office. All overtime has to be signed off by me, and I question what is the need. If they do apply, then they have to communicate and nominate on a form when they will take time and lieu to make out the balance of what they've lost from working overtime. Find out more when we come back from the break. If you want to be successful as a leader, do the Leadership Training for Managers course. All companies need people who can both manage and lead. Leading people screams out for real skills in communication, dealing with all different types of people, being excellent at innovation, planning, delegation, handling mistakes, doing performance reviews really well, and inspiring and motivating the team. Do the Leadership Training for Managers course now in either Japanese or English. If you want to sell more and do it more easily, do the Sales Advantage course. If you can't build trust, no sale. Can't design excellent questions to understand the client's needs, no sale. Can't present the solution convincingly, no sale. Can't handle objections properly, no sale. Can't close, no sale. Master the sales process by doing the Sales Advantage course now in either Japanese or English. Welcome back. How about having more flexible work hours so that more can start earlier or later and miss the crash during peak times? Typical Japanese company rulebooks say everyone must take lunch between 12 and 1. Why? Simply change that and we can all get into our favourite restaurants more easily at lunchtime. Get the company seniors to take some ownership of the culture change and have them leave work much earlier. The mantra must be productivity is valued above blunt loyalty. The latter simply demonstrated through working long hours. Loyalty and hard work are great, but we need both and we want the efficiency and effectiveness of production too. A big effort, but without sufficient results doesn't pay the bills and keep the businesses afloat. Encourage the team to take, shock horror, 2 or 3 weeks leave in a row so they get some well-deserved rest and refresh themselves. I remember years ago, a Japanese senior businessman I knew had been part of an industry delegation visiting South Africa. One of the local businessmen he met there asked him how many days off Japanese executives took during the year. The Japanese businessman proudly told him they hardly take any days off because they are such hard workers in Japan. The South African's reply stunned his Japanese visitor by saying, well, the level of Japanese businessmen must be low. After a fair bit of spluttering and shocked disbelief, he asked him what he meant by that statement, which he took as a gross insult to all those hard-working Japanese executives. The South African explained to him that he took 4 weeks off every year. How could he possibly do that and run his business, he asked. The reply was insightful. He said, in the first week, his mind is still full of work. By about week 2, he's starting to enjoy reading and relaxing, at last starting to rebuild his energy. This continues and gets deeper in week 3. Week 4, though, he's getting a bit restless to get back to work and can't wait to get back to his desk. I asked my Japanese executive friend if he adopted any of these good ideas he'd heard, and he said no. He just kept working like a dog in typical Japanese fashion because of all the peer pressure to conform. There is a lot of wisdom in the approach of that South African businessman, and we need to rethink how we make sure we are able to operate at high levels of performance, sustained over long periods of time throughout our careers. We are all going to be working into our 70s, so this type of long time frame invites us to start thinking about how we can keep going hard and going hard forever. Counsel the team about the importance of getting enough sleep, to rest before they get tired, and to take breaks at work so that they are fresher and therefore less likely to make mistakes through tiredness. Remind them that the fresher team will beat the tired team, and so let's change the dynamic at work and win against our competition. Tired people rarely have enough bandwidth to come up with really great ideas, and innovation is the key to outperforming the competition. We want to put ourselves in a winning situation and get more sleep. Well, that's one of the simple low-cost ways of doing that. Action steps. Number 1, check the company work rules for any outdated content. Number 2, introduce flex time and restrict overtime. Number 3, encourage the team to take their holidays. Number 4, promote the importance of rest in order to beat the competition. The Cutting Edge Japan Business Show is here to help you succeed in Japan. Subscribe on YouTube. Share it with your family, friends, and colleagues. Become a regular. Thank you for watching this episode, and remember to hit the subscribe button. Our website details are on screen now. enjapan.dalecarnegie.com. It is awesome value, so check it out. In episode 64, we are talking about design your talk for success. Find out more about that next week. So, yoroshiku onegai itashimasu. Please join me for the next episode of the Cutting Edge Japan Business Show. We are here to help you, and we have only one direction in mind for you and your business, and that is up.